If you're living on Social Security, SSI, SSDI, VA benefits, or you're a low-income household trying to stretch every dollar right now, you've probably seen headlines talking about a possible Thanksgiving stimulus surprise and even talk of a $2,000 direct deposit. There's a lot of noise out there, and it can get overwhelming, especially when you're just trying to figure out what's real, what's possible, and what might actually help your budget in the weeks ahead. So today, I want to walk you through what's being discussed, what this could mean for you, and why some people are talking about a fourth stimulus-type payment again. I've been digging through the official information, the policy discussions, and the public statements so you don't have to. There is no shortage of rumors every time the holidays come around, and I know how stressful that can feel. My goal here is to break everything down in a calm and honest way so you can understand what's actually happening without the hype or confusion. A lot of people right now remind me of a woman I spoke with recently. She's a widow living on Social Security survivor benefits, and she told me she's already worried about affording her Thanksgiving groceries. The cost of turkey, vegetables, and even basic staples has gone up so much that she's cutting back everywhere she can. She said that even an extra couple $100 would make the difference between celebrating with her family or skipping the meal entirely. I know many of you are in that same place, balancing rent, medication, utilities, and groceries with almost no wiggle room. So here's what we're going to go through together. I'll explain why the idea of a Thanksgiving stimulus or a $2,000 payment is being talked about again, whether it's something that could apply to people on SSA, SSI, SSDI, VA, or SNAP, what the potential timelines would look like if something moved forward, and what hidden details you should be aware of so you're not caught off guard. I'll also go over practical steps you can take right now to make sure your information is correct, because if any kind of relief does get approved, the people who get their money fastest are usually the ones who have their accounts up to date. This conversation touches so many of you. Retirees who rely on their monthly Social Security checks. People on SSDI dealing with medical appointments and unpredictable expenses. Folks on SSI who are constantly squeezing every dollar. Veterans who served this country and are still waiting for help to catch up to their needs. Single parents juggling school costs and groceries. Families who depend on SNAP or EBT just to keep food on the table. Every one of these groups would feel the impact of any added relief, even if it's temporary. Now here's the truth about the stimulus talk. There is no official approval of a fourth stimulus check, but the reason it's in the headlines again is because some lawmakers have been raising the alarm about inflation, still hitting low-income Americans harder than anyone else. Holidays often bring pressure to show some kind of relief, even if it's targeted or limited. In discussions and proposals, you'll sometimes hear amounts like $2,000 mentioned, not because it's confirmed, but because that number has come up before during negotiations in past years when financial relief was being debated. It's a number that gets attention, and it's one that people remember. If something like this were ever to be approved, it would most likely aim at groups hit the hardest: low-income seniors, people on disability programs, veterans, and families receiving SNAP. In the past, whenever relief was approved, direct deposits typically went out first and paper checks followed later. But again, this is not something that is officially happening right now. This is a discussion, not a guarantee, and I want to be completely honest about that. That said, even the possibility of relief gets people asking, would I be eligible? Would it be automatic? And would I need to take any action? Generally, in past situations, anyone who already receives monthly federal benefits, SSA, SSI, SSDI, VA, was paid automatically because their information was already in the system. The only people who usually had to take action were those who didn't file taxes and weren't in any federal benefit program, but that process has changed over the years. If anything did move forward, it could give you a little more breathing room for groceries, medication, utilities, or even a small emergency. For someone living on $1,200 or $1,400 a month, even a few $100s makes a real difference. I know some of you get hit with copays, transportation costs, higher food prices, and surprise bills that seem to show up at the worst possible time. Relief, even if small, can mean catching up instead of falling behind. But we also need to talk about the other side of this. Even if relief is offered, it may not keep up with rising rents or medical costs. Some programs have income limits that create what people call a benefits cliff, where receiving a one-time payment could temporarily affect eligibility for things like housing assistance or Medicaid. That doesn't always happen, and many programs ignore one-time payments, but it's something worth understanding ahead of time so you're not blindsided. There are a few simple things you can do now. Make sure your direct deposit information is correct. If you use SSA, My Social Security, VA.gov, or your state benefits portal, double-check that everything is up to date. If your income is close to a cutoff for a program, talking to a benefits counselor can help you understand whether a one-time payment would be counted or ignored. And if you receive any extra financial help, now or later, setting aside even $10 or $20 can slowly create a small cushion that protects you from the next unexpected bill. I've heard from seniors who said a past relief payment allowed them to buy better groceries for a month. Veterans who finally paid down overdue copays. Parents who use the money to pick up school supplies or give their kids a small treat they normally couldn't afford. These aren't big luxuries. They're small moments of relief that go a long way when life is hard. I know many of you feel exhausted from constantly waiting for help that sometimes feels like it never comes. But needing assistance doesn't mean you've done anything wrong. Millions of people across the country are dealing with the same pressures, and staying informed is one of the strongest ways to protect yourself financially. You deserve every dollar of support you qualify for, and there's nothing shameful about using the resources available to you. If you want to stay updated on Social Security, SSI, SSDI, VA benefits, SNAP, and any stimulus or relief changes being discussed, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss anything important. And if you know someone else who's struggling or confused by all the headlines, share this with them so they can stay informed too. For so many people, the idea of extra help around the holidays brings a mix of hope and frustration. Hope, because even a little financial breathing room can change an entire month. Frustration, because it often feels like these conversations drag on without anything concrete happening. And I want you to hear this clearly. You're not imagining it. You're not wrong for feeling tired of the uncertainty. When you live on a fixed income or rely on disability or VA benefits, every dollar has a job, and every delay hits harder. That's why staying grounded in what's real, while still preparing for what could happen, is the healthiest way to navigate all of this. If relief does move forward in any form, the timeline usually follows a predictable pattern. Lawmakers agree on the structure, the Treasury sets up the distribution, and direct deposits typically go out first. For many of you, especially if you already receive Social Security, SSI, SSDI, or VA benefits, your payment information is already in the system, so the process tends to be automatic. Paper checks and debit card-style payments usually come later. Again, this is not something currently approved, but understanding the process gives you a sense of how it would work if anything changes. One of the biggest concerns I hear is whether a one-time payment would affect other programs. In many past cases, one-time federal stimulus payments were not counted as income for SNAP, Medicaid, or housing programs, but rules can vary by state and by program. That's why it's so important to check your specific situation if you rely on multiple forms of assistance. A quick call to a benefits counselor or a visit to your state's benefits website can help you understand exactly how a payment would be treated. Staying proactive now means fewer surprises later. There are also practical steps that can make a real difference even before any relief arrives. Checking your online SSA or VA account to make sure your bank information is current takes just a few minutes and can prevent delays if something does get approved. If you've moved recently, updating your mailing address ensures you won't miss important notices. And if you're using SNAP or EBT, review your state's renewal date so you don't lose benefits accidentally during the holiday season, which happens more often than people realize. I want you to picture a few real situations. A senior who finally uses a small payment to cover overdue utility bills and avoid a shut-off notice. A veteran who uses the extra money to pay for medication refills without having to choose between that and groceries. A parent who's been juggling school costs and rising food prices, finally able to put a little something extra on the table for their kids. These are the moments that matter, not luxury, just relief. And that's why these discussions are so important, even when nothing is guaranteed yet. Before we wrap up, let me say this. You are not alone in the stress you feel. So many families, seniors, caregivers, and veterans are facing the same pressures. Needing help does not mean you've failed. It means you've been doing your best in an economy that has become incredibly difficult for people on fixed or limited incomes. Staying informed, staying prepared, and using the resources available to you is smart, not shameful. Every small step you take, even checking your account info or staying updated on policy changes, helps protect your financial stability. If you want ongoing updates on Social Security, SSI, SSDI, VA benefits, SNAP, and any new relief programs being discussed, make sure you're subscribed so you never miss an important change. And if you know someone in your life who might be confused or overwhelmed by all the conflicting headlines, share this video with them so they can stay informed and supported too. I know many of you feel exhausted from constantly waiting for help that sometimes feels like it never comes. But needing assistance doesn't mean you've done anything wrong. Millions of people across the country are dealing with the same pressures, and staying informed is one of the strongest ways to protect yourself financially. You deserve every dollar of support you qualify for, and there's nothing shameful about using the resources available to you. If you want to stay updated on Social Security, SSI, SSDI, VA benefits, SNAP, and any stimulus or relief changes being discussed, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss anything important. And if you know someone else who's struggling or confused by all the headlines, share this with them so they can stay informed too.